Hello and welcome to Ham Nation episode 592 for February 12th, 2025. And hello everybody, welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to Ham Nation here at the Ham Radio Crash Course. We have our hosts and got a lot of fun stuff to talk with you, so let's go on and dive in there. Hosts! Oh, we're looking a little light. Dawn, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. You're seeing the wide shot of my extremely messy room in here because Skype took away my camera controls. Thanks, Microsoft.
We'll figure that out. I promise in the next episode in 2 weeks. I promise.
We've got the Newsline crew tonight with news. We do not have a solar update because today is Dr. T's husband's birthday. So she's been busy with his birthday. So happy birthday, Mr. Scove. We appreciate you lending your wife to us on occasion to do the solar update. And I can give you a quick solar update right now because I went outside, I looked up, and it was there. There's your solar update. We'll have more from the Newsline crew coming up a little bit later on tonight, Josh.
Oh, very good. And Amanda, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking. No Gordo tonight. He said he is swimming to Yuma. Now, I was a little bit confused about that, but evidently it is raining like cats and dogs all down in the southwestern area. So he's headed to Yuma. Anybody that's going to be there, you get the pleasure of him this next weekend. Let's see what else is going on. Everybody watched the football game this weekend. I was very disappointed, not because of who won or lost, but because of the horrible commercials. They were terrible. I didn't really care who won. So anyhow.
Well, we put out the ham signal. We needed some more folks. So we made a call out and we got some extra special guests. So our guests, here are our guests. So right next to me is Jason, Ham Radio 2.0. How are you doing, man?
You say special guest. I think you're scraping at the bottom of the barrel here. But,
well, it was everybody who was available at very short notice. So thank you for being available.
I had nothing else to do tonight. Yeah, thank you for the invitation.
Yep. And next to him is Carlos, Life at Terminal Velocity. Both links are in the video description. So if you have not subbed to them, which you should, go do that now. How you doing, Carlos?
I am doing fantastic, Josh. Hope everybody's doing great this evening.
Yeah. Well, then I think we're just going to dive right into it. We're going to throw it to Amanda to talk to Jason.
So, Jason, we've never had the pleasure of meeting in person. Unfortunately, I have watched lots of your videos. We all appreciate Ham Radio 2.0. I find your take on doing POTAs and some of your other opinionated videos awesome. So don't ever stop doing what you're doing. But let's see. When did you get in the hobby? What got you involved?
Well, I actually got my first ticket in 1994, so I renewed it for the third time last year, and I was involved in. I'm going to date myself here, okay? So I had a cell phone back in the day when they used to charge you for daily minutes and nights and weekends for free. So a friend of mine said, hey, let's put CB radios in our cars. So we would drive around town, my buddies and I in high school and college, would drive around town and talk on CB radios. And through that, I met a ham radio operator who wanted to get us all interested in the hobby. And, 30 years later, here I am. They had no idea what they were getting into, but it's been a fun ride. I haven't been into it solid for 30 years, but it was off and on. But when I got back into it maybe 12 years ago, I've been into it pretty solid ever since then.
That's pretty crazy. 1994. 94. I was a junior in high school. Okay. So viewers, shout out if you got into ham radio after first becoming involved in CB radio. I bet we'll find a bunch of them out there. I think Don was one as well.
Back in the 70s.
Heck yeah. When I lived in Wyoming in high school, CB was everywhere. And in fact, it came over our home radios, like our stereos too, whether we wanted it to or not. So parents
guilty as charged a time or two.
Parents heard where the keg was, whether we meant that or not. So anyhow, so going back to that, so what got you making videos? Did you think you just needed to add some content that people could follow along with?
Sort of, I very briefly had an e-commerce store where I was selling a few of the Chinese radios and electronics and connectors and antennas, some really small stuff. This was actually before we had a ham radio store here I live in North Texas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so we didn't have a ham radio store here for a long, long time. We do now, But before all that, I was selling a specific radio, and I kept getting the same question over and over again. It's one of these mobile Chinese radios that was easy to program, except that when you turned on the CTCSS tone, you had to set the tone in one menu, and then you had to actually turn it on in another menu. So it was kind of confusing to people. So I made a video, very crude, very ugly video from my phone, no lighting, no external microphone. It was like 8 or 9 minutes long. Said, here's how you do this. And I just shot the face of the radio and did it, and threw that up there on YouTube. And I forgot about it for about 4 months. I go back and look at it, and I can't remember exactly, but it was either 3,000 or 6,000 views it had. And I'm like, I've sent this to like maybe 10 people. And I was really, really floored by the amount of people who had watched it with no interaction from me at all. So I started doing research on YouTube about ham radio content, and one of the first shows I found was actually Gary Pierce, Ham Radio Now, and I followed him for a while. Ham Nation was on there, of course. You guys used to do live streams on Twit and then upload the replays to YouTube. So I caught some of that as well. I had some friends who were very faithful to follow Ham Nation on Twit when I got back into it around that time. We would get on the repeater and talk to each other about happenings and whatever was going on Ham Nation. So kind of been following that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Several of the friends that I was in the club with really liked the show back then. So as far as I know, they still do. But yeah, so that it just kind of was a spiral from there. I started doing research on what people wanted to see, what content people wanted to see, and then 10 years, about 10 years. That will be 10 years in May of this year. So doesn't seem like that long, but it has been.
Pretty awesome. And I think POTAs have really struck more content to get put out there. So, well, we really appreciate your videos. And once we're done talking about the next subject, we'll show your YouTube channel.
Sure.
For anybody that doesn't know who you are, which I find hard to believe. So anyhow, well, because you make you're so well known and you do so many videos, I think HamSci reached out to you to ask you to help do some production for them. And you just wanted to tell us about what HamSci is. Does everybody know what HamSci is? They're very what are they, Jason? Pretty experimental. Have fun. So
they basically, I made a joke before. I told Josh he should call this segment the stuff that's over Jason's head. So Ham Radio Science Citizen Investigation is what HamSci, Science Citizen Investigation. In a nutshell, they study the ionosphere and space weather, which I didn't really ever know that was a thing, space weather, until I started attending these events. They do a lot with propagation of HF signals, propagation of radio waves, both in all layers of the ionosphere into space, and radio signals from satellites in space and that kind of thing. So once a year, they do an event called a workshop, and they have presenters come in, literally from all over the world. Sometimes it's over Zoom, but sometimes people will travel here, and they change the location about once a year. And they have presenters present on certain topics that kind of fall within this genre of citizen science, amateur science, amateur radio, amateur science, amateur astronomers, and this kind of thing. And they put together a very good presentation for what I would deem to be some of the more technical, very, very much more technical minded stuff inside of amateur radio and beyond. So Tamitha Skov presented there 2 or 3 years ago, I think, when it was in Huntsville, Alabama, if I remember correctly. But they, it's just kind of like a workshop to talk about experimentations, what's happening in the ionosphere, what kind of different things are going on in the world today as far as studies go. They do have this year, they're focused on kind of like a follow-up from the eclipse we had last year. Lots of talks about festivals of eclipse, ionospheric science, and the solar eclipse QSO party that they had last year. They have a NASA press release that was done after the fact with all the data they gathered. They had a geophysical union meeting talk that Nathaniel Frizzell, Dr. Frizzell, W2NAF, he kind of spearheads the whole thing from the University of Scranton. And so they're doing a lot of follow-up segments in this year. And it's going to be taking place here in just a couple of weeks at the New Jersey Institute of Technology. And I had the date right in front of me here just a second ago. It's going to be March 14th and 15th that's coming up for their workshop that they have this year, and you can see that on the website. I did reach out to Dr. Frizzell and asked him about the schedule of presentations, and he says they're finalizing that right now. It's not quite ready for publication yet, but if you keep watching that website over the next week or so, he'll have a docket up about who is presenting what the topics are and that kind of thing. And they allow me to come in every year and record those sessions, and then I edit those up and upload them to their drive so that they have a copied recording of that. And I usually post them on my YouTube channel also, but very fun stuff, very good, like I said, stuff that's over my head. But it's interesting to me to learn a little bit about that.
Well, it's very interesting, I think, to all of us. And there was a question, is there a Zoom or YouTube live stream when they're doing those sessions?
I'm not sure. They have done YouTube live streams in the past. I don't know the status of that this year. Yes, they do have a Zoom. They invite people to join. They spin it up every morning, and the presenters will join. You can join as a presenter or as a viewer. And of course, most people are just viewers in there. So there will be more information about that on the website as well as soon as it becomes available. But I suggest signing up on their newsletter email list to keep up with that stuff. But yes, they will definitely have a Zoom. And not sure about the live stream yet. They've done that in the past, but they didn't do it last year. So it really depends on the internet. Those of us who've live streamed before, it depends on the internet where you're located. So
it can be a battle for
Sometimes
sure.
it can be
Even doing this live is like crazy. I wouldn't know. Just ask Josh though. So I also saw there's like these also everybody that's on here, every board member, I'm telling you, has at least a PhD, but they're all hams, correct? And they're from all over the nation.
They're from all over the nation, all over the world sometimes. Most of them are hams. We do get some presentations sometimes from scientists that are not hams, and there's always a little bit of fun poking, say, well, okay, I guess I need to get my ham radio license now. So they're very welcoming to people who are not hams, but they're, obviously they try to spread the good word about amateur radio as much as they can. Bob Ingerbitsen, NQ1R from ARRL, will be the keynote speaker this year. So he's going to have a lot to say. Bob, he always has a lot to say about stuff. He's very interesting to listen to. Got to catch up with him at Hamcation last weekend. So he's going to present this year as a keynote speaker. And they're starting a new project this year from the Frankfurt Radio Club to help with the personal space weather station. They have this thing called the personal space weather station. It's built out of a Raspberry Pi. They have one that's called a grape unit and another one I think that's called a tangerine, if I'm not mistaken. But basically what it is, it's an ionospheric monitoring station that people like you and I can set up at our homes. And they place these things all over the country, sometimes all over the continent, and even some in South America, I believe some over in Europe. And it monitors ionospheric HF propagation from your QTH. So once you have a bunch of those all over the country or all over North America, they are able to more accurately and definitively monitor ionospheric HF propagation, just ionospheric changes, sunspots, geothermal, whatever it's called. So again, stuff that's over my head, but the personal space weather station has been something that a project they've been working on for several years now. And they want to, and it gets a little bit updated every year. They're constantly doing updates to it. And they have a low cost unit and a little bit more robust, higher cost unit, but you're talking about for the low cost unit, somewhere around $100. And that's
not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. And you can build it yourself. It's a kit. People who like tinkering with kits can build it themselves, put it online, connect it to the internet at your home QTH, and it uploads data to their servers, and they collect all that to do science research stuff with. It's again, out of my realm of expertise, but it's really interesting topics to hear about. There's guys that do presentations on satellites every year. There's some Starlink stuff has been mentioned over the last couple of years. There was one last year that one gentleman presented on the history of CW, and while that's not directly related to space weather, it is absolutely related to amateur radio, and it was that was an interesting topic as well. So a lot of really good stuff inside the amateur radio community, and just people who are smarter than I am that I get to listen to. I have the privilege of listening to each year.
I feel that way every time Dr. T is on this show, and
yeah.
Same with her. We ribbed her so hard she finally got licensed. It was a tough battle. So when I briefly went to HamSci this afternoon, I saw like logos like ARDC. I'm guessing this is all peer funded.
Yes. So yeah, Dr. Fussell sent me a kind of a bullet point earlier today. So they received a new NSF grant to continue the personal space weather station work this year. This will be a collaboration of the University of Scranton, New Jersey Institute of Technology, Alabama, Case Western University, Tapper, the Tucson Amateur Packet Radio Group, and volunteers of the ham radio community. You can see a Scranton Royal News article at a link he sent me. I can send this to you if you want to see this, Amanda. But
Sure.
yes, absolutely, ARDC grants because this is all not-for-profit stuff, and they've been dealing with that and working with ARDC has actually been there for the last couple of years. And they have a presence there and do some presentations and what they call posters and one-on-one sessions with people after the fact, after the main forum presentations are done. So, yes, very heavily grounded in ARDC. The M17 guys were there a couple of years ago, and I think we'll be back again this year because M17 was also an ARDC-funded project. So several things like that. People attend who are kind of tied into that realm as well. So. Definitely something to keep your eye on.
I think this is also one of those opportunities to get youth involved where it would spark their interest a lot, just introducing them. It's not all about Morse code, those things, but here's some other cool stuff that we're doing with amateur radio. And they could maybe explain it to us a bit.
Correct.
And I saw a comment and then it disappeared. Anyhow, any other questions, Josh, that I missed from
No,
viewers?
it was a good point that Jody brought up, saying that NSF, NASA, Tapper, which is a amateur radio group, and ARDC have all supported HamSci. So good job.
Fantastic. Jason, anything else you want the audience to know?
Just one thing. Dr. Fussell, he's a professor at the University of Scranton, and the University of Scranton, he's been there for 2 or 3 years, something like that, maybe longer than that. They set up their own ham radio ham shack at the university last year. They've got a full Icom set up. Of course, Icom had a big hand in that. And they have a ham radio club there with their own ham radio club call sign at the university for students at the university to get involved in. So you were talking about getting youth involved. Students or college age students they're still younger than me, so I guess they're youth. But
Absolutely.
So they have all that going on over there. And I actually worked Dr. Fussell, I think it was field day last year. It was either field day or a POTA, maybe a Support Your Parks weekend. And I was calling CQ and he came back to me and I didn't recognize the club call sign at first, but then he said, "Oh, this is Nathaniel Affair." I was like, "Oh man, what's up?" So yeah,
That's
definitely
kind of cool to know that they're just on random amateur radio stuff too. It's not all business and scientific stuff. They're having fun too. That's awesome.
Very true.
Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention, and we are going to try to have some of the folks from HamSci on to go deeper into this. But going back to, you're an influencer, you're a ham radio influencer, so I'm going to ask you a deep question here, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Buck up here. Where do you see like what you'll be doing with videoing and getting people involved in amateur radio even 10 years from now?
What do I see? How?
Yeah, what do you think will evolve? What do you think will change?
Oh, well, I think a lot of, amateur radio, traditionally speaking, for the last 100 years has always been on the forefront of technology. And while I think that's probably still true for the most part, it seems like there's some stuff that seems like it's more advanced than what we do. But if you get in, that's one of the cool things about HamSci. This is very advanced topics, and they focus around amateur radio and just radio in general, radio propagation in general. So I think we as hams need to be a little bit more welcoming of newer technologies and seeing how it relates to what we do and how we can incorporate it into what we do. I think it's exciting to see all of the new technologies and new advances and stuff and how we can relate it into the amateur radio world myself. So I don't see us going anywhere anytime soon.
Perfect. Great answer, by the way, with me putting you on the spot.
Sure.
I appreciate that. Well, thanks, Jason. Come back anytime and visit. And what's on your schedule? What are you going to be going over in your videos next?
Well, I'm still uploading all my Hamcation videos. Had some really good interviews there. We're going to be talking about a couple of recent events inside the ARRL community and that kind of thing. And I actually got to talk with Josh Johnston at Hamcation this last weekend about some MCOM stuff that the ARRL is working on. We're going to do some interviews with him coming up as well, so I'm looking forward to that.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks. Stick around till the end. We're going to have some more fun, and let's take it and get a word from Icom.
Combining cutting-edge technology, unmatched reliability, and user-friendly design, Icom's amateur radios are the gold standard for ham radio enthusiasts. Whether you're chasing DX, experimenting with digital modes, or leading a local net, Icom radios deliver crystal clear performance and seamless connectivity. With a legacy of innovation and commitment to quality, Icom continues to set the benchmark for amateur radio excellence, making them the trusted choice for operators worldwide. Introducing Icom's IC7760, the pinnacle of base station excellence for amateur radio enthusiasts. Designed to deliver unmatched performance, the IC7760 features state-of-the-art technology, exceptional RF clarity, and an intuitive interface, all housed in a sleek and durable design. The base station features a separate remote control head and RF deck, providing excellent flexibility for installation. Place the RF deck closer to the antenna feed point, freeing up space on your desk. You can also connect the control head to the RF deck through your home network, enabling remote operation from anywhere in your home without need for a PC. Pair the IC7760 with the powerful ICPW2 linear amplifier and take your contesting experience to the next level. The ICPW2 seamlessly integrates with the IC7760, delivering a massive power boost and enabling enhanced long-distance communications with DPD, digital pre-distortion, and a built-in 2x6 automatic antenna selector for SO2R single-operator 2 radios. Together, they define what's possible in amateur radio, setting a new standard for global connectivity and reliability. For more information about all of Icom's great amateur radios, visit icomamerica.com/amateur.
A huge thank you to Icom for sponsoring Ham Nation. Every time we are live, every 2 weeks, that's right, every Wednesday that we are here. If you go to the Icom website for Ham Nation and click on the Enter Now button, you can win one of 3 swag packs that include things like T-shirts, bag, hats. It varies, but you get a number of little loot items from Icom, which is great, but your names, for those that win the swag packs, get entered into the monthly giveaway. So let's take a look at the winners this week. All right, Thomas C., KI4VWD, Jake H, KF0IZP, and Colin W, KF8CEV. You won swag packs, and the winner of the, what did we give away? It was the the V3500. Sorry, excuse me. Is Dustin B, K2 Bro. I like that, K2BRO. You're the winner of that radio, and it should be on its way to you. So congratulations. And yeah, again, make sure you click that Enter Now button every time we're live to enter in on that giveaway. I'm throwing it back to Amanda, and she's going to talk with Carlos.
Thank you. Let me unmute myself. I should have had you play the video, like intro him jumping out of a plane to intro him. Hi, Carlos. How are you? Thanks for being here tonight.
Howdy, Amanda. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Does everybody know Carlos there in the chat? Carlos jumps out of planes and talks on radio and makes lots of contacts. Let's go back a while. Carlos, what got you into amateur radio? It's
a long, winding road, but basically it started as a child. My uncle had a license, which he didn't have, and he had a station in Puerto Rico, and he started teaching me about electronics and ham radio and that stuff as a child. Once I moved to the United States, I also hit teenager, learned about girls. You know, the ham radio thing just kind of went to the side.
It's a familiar story.
Exactly.
Girls and cars.
That's
exactly. Right. But in 2018, Hurricane Maria, by the way, the idea of getting an amateur radio license was always in the back of my head after, a while, but it was always maybe later. And in 2018, Hurricane Maria devastated my home island of Puerto Rico. And the only contact I had with my family was through amateurs. Okay. The only way I found out that my family was fine or not fine or what they needed or didn't need was through amateurs. And I resolved that the next time this happens, I'm not depending on somebody else around here. I'm just going to have the ability to do it myself. So I went ahead and got my license in 2019.
That's amazing. That's what got you licensed. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
That's what finally got me off the maybe later. It was I have a real need to be able to communicate directly, at least to the amateurs in Puerto Rico that can get close to my family and then relay information in the event of an emergency, which, it's one thing to see that happen in the United States, in North Carolina and in Tennessee, but there's a certain level of how big this country is that allows a lot of resources to come together and fix the problem relatively quickly, right? Relatively quickly. Where in Puerto Rico, we're an island, right? We're just sitting out there, and there's the only way to get things in is either airplanes or ships, and neither one of those is very, very either cheap or fast. Airplanes are fast, but not cheap, and boats are certainly not fast. So a natural disaster in Puerto Rico takes months and months and months just to get back to a baseline of having power and water, let alone communications on a regular basis. And amateur radio skips ahead of the line, right?
Sure.
As long as you have a radio and power, we're good to go. Guess what? Puerto Rico is in the tropics, so we get the benefit of having a lot of solar available to us. So a lot of people have solar panels there and batteries, and they're able to have their stations up and running all the time.
That is so cool. And after Maria, we had a lot of our good ham friends join us to tell us about what they did in amateur radio, Angel being one of them, and Andy, who's no longer with us. But that's it's very much needed, and you don't think about it until it happens, right?
Exactly. And like even for me, in the years prior to 2018, when a hurricane would go through, I would think, I need to get, and I never got off the I need to get portion, because those hurricanes weren't so major that they devastated the entire island. I was able to get in touch with my family within a couple of days. Not so much in Maria. So we know that, growing up, living, being born, growing up on the island, I know, and so does everybody that live, in the Caribbean, that a hurricane is coming. It's just a matter of when. It's just like, the folks that are in California go, the big one is coming. They just don't know when, right? It's a matter of when. Sooner or later, it will happen. How about I prepare here so that when my family needs help, I can reach them.
So all your family still lives in Puerto Rico then?
The overwhelming majority of my family lives in Puerto Rico.
Oh, amazing. Well, hopefully you have set up established some ways that you already have set in stone that you can get out to them and have that all worked out. But that's great. Anyhow, so you got into amateur radio, but how did that involve you jumping out of planes and talking on the radio too?
I am not a theory guy. Theory's fine and all that, right? But I like reality, because in theory we can travel in time, but in reality it's very, very difficult to achieve, right? If not impossible. While I was studying for my tech license, one of the things that stuck with me about VHF propagation was that if your antenna's higher, you get further out. And guess what? I'm a skydiver. I'm a parachutist. I can put an antenna really, really high. I can test this. I can take it out of the world of theory and put it in the world of reality. For me, there's been other people that have done it before. Airplanes fly with radios all the time. The ISS has a radio. But it's one thing for me to know those things. It's another thing for me to know it for my own personal experience. So I decided, well, I have a license. I have a handheld radio. I'm going to take it up in the sky and see how far I can get. I know how far I can get on the ground because I've been using it for a few months now. Let me take it up in the sky and call CQ152 and see what happens. because on the ground, CQ is fairly dead. If a 5.2 is fairly dead, right? You can get a 5.2, not hear much unless it's VHF contest day or something of the like. But you get up 14,000 feet, and all of a sudden, 14652 is alive. And I don't mean a little bit alive. I mean, it is impossible to catch a break in there. And you start going, hey, wait a minute. This whole antenna being high thing matters a lot. So being a skydiver, look, for those of you that don't know very many skydivers or don't know any, we like to fly with things like this, right? An action camera. It happens that I brought my HT and I had my camera on my helmet, and the people that I contacted, I would say, hey, I'm parachute mobile, right? And they would say, you are not. You're absolutely not in a parachute.
Yeah,
like,
come again?
You're not. I'm like, yes, I am. Like, fine, let's go to the next person. I'm parachute mobile. Yay, right? So I land, and I think, well, I have this video. I can just upload it to YouTube and send, I can look up these people online and find them, send them, an email with a link to the video, and they'll see that I really was under a parachute. I'm not, making things up. And so I did that. I posted the video, didn't think anything of it, sent it to those people. And kind of like Jason, I found in a few days that the video had a lot more views on it than, ooh, sweet. Sorry, babe. Thanks. My wife, always looking out for me.
Why can't I get one of those?
Yeah. Where's my
Well,
beverage?
you can get a wife. It's just a matter of asking.
Don't tempt me on that card.
I come to find out that the video has a lot more views than what the people that I sent it to. And one of the people sent me an email back saying, hey, you should post this on the subreddit for Amateur Radio. And I'm like, oh, sure, okay, no problem. And I posted it there and come back a few days later, and it has a lot more views. Like, there's something to this. People are interested in this. So I'll do a little more of this, and I'm still doing a little more of this.
Well, evidently you got such a following that you stuck out to Dayton Hamvention, and they've asked you several times to come there and do a demo and work.
Listen, let me be very clear. Dayton has not asked me to, and they don't want the liability of me doing a demo.
Oh, okay. So
I actually asked because I can
side quest. I got it.
I can absolutely land on that track where the flea market is. I can land on that track and be perfectly safe. But I reached out to them and I said, hey, I can do that. And they said, no. There happens to be a drop zone not very far from the venue, right? Not far from the Greene County Fairgrounds. So what I do is I just go to the drop zone and I jump there and I land there. And what I do is I call CQ parachute mobile while I'm up in the air and get a bunch of people. It becomes quite the pileup.
I could imagine. So how much time do you have to make contacts after you leap out?
So it depends on how high the airplane takes me. So at Greene County Fairgrounds, the drop zone that's nearby only goes to 10,000 feet. On average, I'm going through about 1,000 feet a minute once I'm under a parachute. Okay, excuse me. And that said, it takes me a minute, depending on what kind of radio, what kind of setup I'm using. It may take me a minute to get set up. And then the last 3,000 feet belong to me. I need to set up for landing, and at 3,000 feet, I call QRT, and I'm done. There is no way on the planet that I'm dealing with the radio after that, because I'm setting up to land, and I need to make sure that I land safely.
Oh, 100%.
People think, hey, you're crazy, you're a daredevil. I am absolutely neither one of those things. It happens that what I do is dangerous, but we can make it safe by mitigating problems, right? And one of those things is saying there's a hard cut at 3,000 feet, and from here down, it's time for me to set up and have a safe landing. So at Greene County, I'll do about 7 minutes. At my home drop zone, I have about 11 minutes because we go to 14,000 feet. And depending on where I am, some drop zones will take it to 12,005, some will take it to 9, some will take it to 10. It just depends on the drop zone. I made a jump for a school in Florida, and that drop zone took me to 10,000 feet. I was expecting 9. And it was beautiful because I had extra time to play with.
We actually have a video of you doing that school drop, and I'd like Josh to play it.
I've jumped a bit ahead when you're coming out of the plane just so we can get right to it. But if you want to come back, just let me know. So here we go.
What you're seeing is Amelia Island, by the way. This is northern Florida, northeast of Florida. That is a Cessna 182 wide body, and I'm letting go.
That's crazy.
Oh, 182. That's a pretty small one.
It is that's the wide body version. The narrow body version we jump out of also.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I guess it's room for you and your chute and a radio, and that's about it.
We put 4 parachutists in that plane normally.
Really?
And actually, on the wide body, we can put 5. It's all about weight and balance.
Now, you're doing this for students, so were the students actually talking to you on the radio?
Yes. One of the teachers from the ARL's Teachers Institute, Wayne Green.
Oh, sure.
We met at at Dayton. We talked, and he reached out to me sometime later and said, "Hey, can you do this for the kids on my school?" And I said, "It's a trick, right? Because I have to have a drop zone. I can't just land on your school. I can, but I need to have a lot of other expenses that I just don't have the money for." And he said, "Well, there's a drop zone not that far." And I'm like, "What do you mean not that far?" He said, "Well, about an hour." Well, make it a field trip, and we can do that, right? Went down there, and those kids are. He has a class for science, technology, engineering, and math that he teaches those kids, and a lot of it has to do with radio as well, right? Because radio is involved in all those topics. And he was able to. We had some time in the classroom the day before, and then we put it together with a jump at the drop zone on the Saturday. The kids actually made contacts using a control station, which was his call sign. So I didn't include the videos that I have of him acting as a control station because the kids are featured in it. And even though their parents signed waivers, it didn't feel right to put the kids in the video. So
I hear you.
It was one of those things where I had to make a decision about what. But if he's taking care of the radio and he's coaching them in the process of how to make a contact. And we had a number of kids make their contacts, and we had plenty of time to the point where I said, okay, if I have all my kids done, let me widely call on the channel. And I had one person that was like 90 miles away come back and go, "Are you really under a parachute?" Yes, sir, I am.
It's not like your number one question. Are you really in the air? Like, are you really parachuting right now? Is that the number one?
It really used to be, but now when I announce my jumps, people are expecting them, right?
Okay.
So they know what to, yes, this guy's parachute mobile. Now, if you're spinning the dial and you happen to stumble on me, then you're absolutely going to ask the question. One of the cool contacts that I've had was I made an HF jump during rookie roundup a couple of years ago. Oh. And there was an amateur, had just gotten his license, had just gotten his general, and he's spinning the dial, and he stumbles on me calling CQ on HF, and are you really under a parachute? Yes, I am. Don't worry about it. You'll make the video. I'll send you a link to the video, buddy.
That's amazing. So you do HF as well. We didn't talk about that yet. Thanks, Josh, for showing that video. Appreciate that. It's amazing that you're getting the youth involvement like that. It's a unique way to get them involved. So that's really cool that the teachers, the youth guy there reached out to you. That's awesome.
It's so I ended up where I'm at, both with skydiving and with amateur radio, because I was exposed to it early in life. As a child, my uncle had a license. and he had an amateur radio station. He really just set it up for the events of hurricanes, and he just made some call letters up, and he got away with it for a lot of years. And then somebody in the amateur community went and slapped him on the wrist and said, either get a license or take it down. So he took it down. And then when I was 4 years old, I just one of those vivid memories. The Golden Knights, the U.S. Army has a parachute team. They're called the Golden Knights. They did a demonstration jump at my hometown baseball stadium, and they landed right there, right in front of me. I'm on the dugout, and these guys land right next to the dugout, and I'm just floored by the idea of, wow, you can do that. And both of those things had an impact on what I do today. The way I see it is if I can expose the youth to the idea of amateur radio being a cool, fun thing, and skydiving and parachuting being cool things, that maybe, just maybe, they'll remember that once they're older, and they might try one or the other, right? And if they try, awesome. And if they don't, at the very least, they got to have a cool experience, right?
That's totally it right there. Is especially that dude that made his first contact with you. That's going to be a memorable contact for the rest of his life. So, Josh, do you have some more photos to go through?
I do. You said he's operated HF, and boy, howdy, yeah. Why don't you mention what's going on here, Carlos?
So, once I started doing this, I ventured into the world of HF as well, right? And I started with a 706 Mark II G. It's an Icom radio. And I have a bag, and I still have the radio, and it works really well. But one of the things that makes that radio a challenge for me is I need to record the QSOs. It's the only way I can log, and it's the only way I can make the video.
Yes, yeah.
So I had to move away from the 706 Mark II G to a 705, and that's fantastic, except on days when the propagation isn't great, right? And I kept on looking for a way of taking a radio with a recorder built in into the sky, and I finally found a bag that will fit the 7300. So
amazing.
I bought the bag. I saw the price and I went, I don't care. I just don't care. I'm buying it. I bought the bag. I put the kit together, verified that everything would work. I sent the information to a few people. I make the jump. As soon as I land, I took that video from that jump. I went and did that very screen capture that you see there, and I sent a text message to Ray. And I said that because he already knew that I was using the 705, and he looked at it and he calls. You jumped to 7,300? Are you crazy?
I know. That's what I was thinking. Oh my God, that's so expensive.
How high are you up in this picture?
I have to have the ability to do the 100 watts when I need the 100 watts,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I suppose.
10 watts is awesome when the propagation is good. 100 watts is awesome all the time.
Okay, so Carlos, 2 more questions. How high are you when you take that picture, and what HF antenna do you use?
Okay, when I'm taking this picture, I'm in the process of, it's not even powered on yet, so I'm right around 14,000 feet or thereabouts, maybe 13.5. And I always have to use some form of I don't always have to use a resonant antenna, but I like to use resonant antennas, and they're end-fed half waves. Most of the time I'm using a Pactena end-fed half wave, or a KM4ACK end-fed half wave, or let's see, the bug out, who makes the Reliance. I have like 5 or 6 different end-fed half waves that I use, and I just have them cut for different resonance. Even though the 40 meter KM4ACK will cover me on 40, 20, 15, and 10, the pattern on those resonant bands is not the same, and it makes for kind of oddball contacts, because if I'm facing north and let's say I'm running that 40 meter antenna on 20 meters, the pattern is very different. Huh. And now I need to turn, to the right or to the east to navigate to where I need to go. Now I just took the people that I was talking to and I put them in completely different plane, and I can't hear them and they can't hear me.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a number of different transformers with different antenna wire lengths to meet the requirements of each band that I jump with, so that I don't have to worry about the pattern getting different on me.
Interesting. I didn't know that you could keep that much control. Wow. So, did I miss some questions there, Josh?
Well, you're literally steering, right? Because you're kind of moving forward and the antenna's trailing behind you, right?
Exactly. So I'm steering. If you look at my videos, perfect shot, right? Those things on either side of my shoulders are called risers. Okay, you have a front right, a front left, a rear right, and a rear left. Those risers let me deflect the parachute just like any other wing and make changes in the way I'm flying. In addition to that, I have brakes or toggles on each side. The yellow handles that you barely see on the right-hand side of the picture there, my right-hand side, that is a line that is tied to the tail at 4 points on the tail. So that lets me make very gradual changes. The more I pull that string down or that line down, the deeper the turn gets to that side. It acts just like an airline. Am I saying that right? Or flaps perhaps on a single side.
Aileron.
Aileron. There we go.
Aileron, yeah.
Aileron. On an airplane, but it's on a parachute wing. So I have control, pitch, yaw, and roll. Mm-hmm. It's just not as positive a control as an airplane would be because I have no power.
So
my only power is gravity.
Brett made a comment about 100 watts with an antenna that close. You could get a sting or an RF bite. Has that ever happened? You got a jumpsuit on, so I mean, do you feel it at all, or you're kind of close at 100 watts?
So no, but you have to remember that I also have a length of feed line that acts as a counterpoise, and that is also picking up the whatever else might not be bouncing back off on the antenna, right? So I've never had an RF burn. It never bothers me. The length of the coax is long enough that the counterpoise effect it has is basically beautiful. The S level, the noise level up high is 0. It's really, really neat to be on the ground and go, oh, the conditions are terrible today, and you have an S9 on the ground. You get up on the sky, S0. It is really, really cool.
Nice.
Wow.
Now, Carlos, do you travel around and do this, like around the country, or what?
No, my primary home drop zone is Chicagoland Skydiving Center in Rochelle, Illinois. I go to Dayton. I go to Huntsville. I'm hoping to go to Orlando at some point in time in the near future. All three of those places have drop zones close enough that I can make jumps there and target the people that are at the event. I travel for skydiving when needed. Like, if a drop zone needs extra staff in Colorado and they're willing to pay for the travel, which sometimes they are, they'll fly instructors out, and we've done things like that. But the overwhelming majority of my jumps are in Rochelle, Illinois. It's nothing but corn and bean and corn. It's not as pretty as the beach at Ferdinandina Island or Amelia Island.
I can imagine.
There was a question on your bags. Have you ever done a bag video or a gear video where you break it all down? Is it on your channel?
Yes, I have several. I want to say I have 4 different videos on the 4 different bags that I've flown in the last 5 years. The most recent of which I think I published 2 weeks ago, but I could be wrong. It's there. Yeah, actually, it's right there. The second video down.
I think I found it.
The second video down is like the most current bag I have and how it's set up and configured. It is. But the other bags are still there, and I still have the other bags, and I still use the other radios in those configurations, except the 706, because, again, it's really difficult to record the QSOs there. But the bag for the 705, the bag that I use when I do HTs, it's also another video in there. So there is an amount of videos where you can watch and see how I set things up. If you're interested in doing something similar, obviously, if you're a skydiver and you're looking to do this, please get in touch with me. I want this to be safe for you, and I want you to make sure you have the right experience to do this if you're a skydiver. And if it's something that you're just interested in how it's set up, then by all means, it's there.
We love to have all the info for sure. Now, you did have, I heard you had an incident with one of your handhelds, but it survived.
Oh, it wasn't a handheld.
Oh, it wasn't a handheld?
Oh, that was a handheld. That was my ID50.
Okay.
Oh, it was? I thought it was the 705. I was wrong.
Oh, believe me, I would have shed tears because I'm pretty sure the 705 would have gone. So at Huntsville last year, I somehow managed to sit in the plane in such a way that the buckle that holds the bag on me came partially undone. And as soon as I left the airplane, the opening force of the parachute finished opening the buckle. And that bag, so my ID50, my phone, my Meshtastic node, my spare altimeter, my GPS tracker for my for keeping track of my videos now have GPS information on them, so altitude, direction, fall rate. So I have a GPS tracker for that. All of that was in that bag, and as soon as it peeled off, I had a moment.
I'm sure. Several, perhaps, all at once.
You're so light about it. A moment.
Well, it's first of all, my very first concern was, dear God, don't let this hurt somebody.
Right.
Right. And the second one was, I just lost $3,500. Right. So there was a bit of adult talk happening at that point in time, and
yes,
the video about it cuts it. It's like, beep, nope. Well, it happens that my phone is an iPhone. It has the Find My feature. As soon as I land, I go to my laptop, go to the Find My. I know exactly where the phone is at, so I know where everything else is at. Go to the house, there's no one home. Go to the neighbors, no one home. Go to several neighbors, no one's home. Finally find one neighbor that knows them that is home. They're out of town. They'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to go trespassing on people's property. It's a really good way to get hurt and shot, right?
Oh, yes.
So these folks come home and they say, you lost a bag? I'm like, yes, I lost a bag. And I believe it's that way in your backyard. And I go, well, go get it. So sure enough, I go to the backyard and I'm looking. I can't find it. I look on the roof of the house and it's in the gutter.
Wow.
It's in the gutter. Recover the bag. The radio is fine. My phone is operable, but smashed. The glass on the back is just done for. My Meshtastic node is fine. My altimeter is fine. My GPS tracker is fine. The only damage was I don't have the ID50 in here. I should have brought it in here. The antenna is a super elastic signal stick, and the shingles hit it just right enough to scuff the heat shrink on the super elastic signal stick, and that's it. That wow. and the phone being smashed up. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
That's
so I recovered everything and nobody got hurt. And the owners of the property were very, very cool about it. I offered them my information in case they found damage on their roof later, and they said, "It's okay, just go back to the drop zone and have a good time." Like, thank you.
Wow.
You can't make that up.
Yeah.
No, the fun part is going
Carlos
back
can.
The fun part is going back to the show later, and taking that radio to Ray and going, "Hey, look, I have the only impact rated ID50 on the planet." And he goes, "What?" And I tell him what happened. He goes, "No."
That's wild.
They need to put that in one of their ads for sure. Oh, Carlos, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. Anything else you want the viewers to know?
go out, have fun with your radios, do the things that, make the hobby the thing, and have fun. That's
okay.
it. You get more kids on the air.
Okay. Oh, and I do have one more question. The lovely lady that brought you your water, she's a ham too?
Ah, God, I wish. I've tried. Believe me, I've tried. No, she is unfortunately not even slightly interested, although
Not
by
interested.
now
Okay.
she could pass the tech test just from, being next to me.
That's 100% where I was in my life when I finally got licensed, because I just had to hear dude in the next room talking about it all the time. So I just picked up enough. So anyhow, well, we're hoping the best for her, Carlos, and maybe one of these days. Join us again anytime. We appreciate you. And stick around. We're going to go to Amateur Radio Newsline and then to Ham It or Can It. So take it away, Josh.
Or Dawn.
Dawn.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just jump
I know
right
who
into it.
you are.
News of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline.
From Amateur Radio Newsline report number 2467, this is Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. Our first story takes us high above the North Pole and the South Pole. A ham radio operator is one of 4 astronauts scheduled to orbit the Earth in the weeks ahead via both poles for the first time.
A ham radio operator is one of 4 astronauts who will be aboard the first spaceflight to orbit the Earth via the North and South Poles. The mission aboard the Fram-2 is scheduled to last anywhere from 3 to 5 days after its scheduled launch sometime after March 1. The spacecraft's name is a tribute to the Fram, a Norwegian-built ship used on expeditions to both poles during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The space mission's pilot, Robia Rouge of Germany, is that nation's first female astronaut. She holds the amateur radio call signs LB9NJ and KD3AID. She will transmit SSTV images using the amateur radio equipment on board. Although the images are to be sent as part of a high school and university competition for students, the images may be also received by any amateur radio operator capable of receiving SSTV transmissions. After the mission is complete, the images will also be available for viewing on the SSTV gallery of amateur radio on the International Space Station. This is Graham Kemp, VK4BB.
What once was radio history in Austria is now, as expected, reduced to rubble.
The historic shortwave radio transmitting site at Moosbrunn in Austria has been dismantled. The Austrian newspaper Der Standard reports that the demolition in late January marks the end of a long episode in broadcast history. The destruction was described in the newspaper as, quote, a precise targeted explosion, end quote. The facility, built during the Cold War era, had once been home to Radio Austria International. After Radio Austria went off the air in 2003, the transmitter was used by international broadcasters such as Radio DARC, a program produced by the German National Amateur Radio Society. After the closure of the Moosbrunn site at the end of December 2024, Radio DARC moved to the shortwave station in Wooferton, England, which has been carrying it since January. This is Jeremy Bucci for NJH.
It comes around every February. No, not Valentine's Day, but if you love radio, it's just as sweet. Here's Jim Dameron, N8TMW.
World Radio Day, February 13th, was adopted in 2012 by the United Nations to acknowledge radio's role in people's lives everywhere. Although the focus is usually on broadcast radio services, amateur radio will be involved in some events around the world. This year's theme is Radio and Climate Change. One of the many international events happening involves the Shanghai Coast radio station XSG, which maintains a global maritime distress and safety system, as well as Morse code telegraph services. The station is hosting a 2-day crossband event in which the radio station will communicate via CW with amateur radio operators, with each side transmitting on their authorized frequencies while monitoring the other party's frequencies. The event runs from 0 UTC on the 12th of February to 0 UTC the next day. For a list of amateur radio frequencies that XSG will be monitoring for ham transmissions, see the text version of this week's newscast at arnewsline.org.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news since 1976 at arnewsline.org. With Graham Kemp, VK4BB, Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Jim Dameron and 8TMW, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wellbanks, AE5DW. 7-3, we'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.
All right, plenty of thanks to the Newsline folks for helping us put all that together. arnewsline.org, of course, is that website. If you want to keep up with Dr. T, Tamitha Skov, who is celebrating her husband's birthday tonight and could not be with us, of course, it's spaceweatherwoman.com. You can follow her on X at Tamitha Skov and also her YouTube channel, Tamitha Skov. So I guess we'll turn it over to Amanda now for Hamit, Can It, or What Am It? And you know, Amanda, Friday is St. Patrick's Day. So, darling, we love you. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And happy St. Patrick's Day. St. Valentine's Day.
I was thinking to myself, whoa, buddy, I'm not ready for either of those.
Well, see, here's the thing. I met my wife for the first time on St. Patrick's Day. So
okay.
we treat that as an anniversary. We've been married for 41 years, and she hasn't killed me yet. So apparently there's some kind of true love thing going on somehow or another. And, of course, Valentine's Day, I'm just going to stop talking and just start showing the funny pictures.
Well, happy Valentine's to you too,
Yes,
honey. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, let me share the correct screen here because you don't
Stop
need all
laughing
my
at me,
other
Carlos.
screens.
I see you.
Now, Carlos, what I'm about to go through is Hamit, Can It, or What Am It? And I do expect commentary from my hosts, and you are a co-host tonight. So basically, I go through a bunch of pictures. I tore off the internet all about ham radio, and we either tell it to Hamit or Can It, or we figure out what it is. So,
or we try to, yeah, I guess.
We do try to. Okay, am I up? Am I on?
You're showing, yep.
Okay. So this one was just a real simple. Don't even ask this question, people. I really want a Pactena, but they are always out of stock. Should I just build one? Yeah. Yes.
Sure.
Build one. Just try
Absolutely.
it. I mean, if it's not going to cost you like an arm and a leg, of course. I'm sorry that it's always out of stock, though, by the way.
George
Josh,
is
do you
always
use
working
those?
on that. Oh, yeah. George
Okay,
is always
yeah.
working on that. He's now retired, and I think he was on Jason and I's show recently, and he talked about how he's got access to more production, and so he's doing
Oh,
that.
there you go. Okay, this one. This is just your friendly reminder, everybody, that you need to have an answer for this in your pocket at all times.
Yes.
So anyone with ham radio experience have some recs for someone with no experience? Any books to own or YouTube channels to follow? What should my first purchase be? Always just like, if you can maybe even just make a graphic that you have saved on your phone that you can respond to somebody like this and have some reference
idea.
points. I think this would be fantastic. So this is just your reminder. Have that answer in your head. We are the first ambassadors, Amateur Radio, are we not? Because they find out we're a ham. They're going to say, oh, I've been thinking about that. Where should I look? Have that. Be ready.
I bring them to a POTA. I just tell them, when would you like to go to the park with me? Let's go to the park and let's
that
play
would be
radio
fun.
together.
It's a great
That's
idea.
always a good idea.
I just realized Jason had to leave, so we have permanently frozen Jason. I'm just gonna. Hey, Jason, what do you think about that? The parachute mobile.
Yep.
What?
Jason
What's
is-
that, Jason? What's that?
Jason he's not.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and hide
And
Jason for a
There
second.
you
Oh, you shouldn't have, because that is like 100% his signature look. I mean, it was
It really
spot on. I guess we can pick on him because he's not here.
No, he's
that's-
a good sport. Sorry,
okay.
he
We
had
pick
to
on
go.
him whether he's here or not here.
That's on
Oh,
you,
nice.
Jason. You left us early. Okay. KB said, I don't even know. So I understand the concept, but what do you use these for? What is
Stepper
what is he
motors.
putting them on?
You can
Okay.
use that for an Azel rotor or something like that. I'm guessing, just off the top of my
Probably,
head.
yeah.
Okay.
Big stepper motor.
That's what I thought.
Hey, those
I thought
big
it was
ones.
a little big. Yeah. So maybe for huge something or other. Okay.
The planet's pointed the wrong way.
Moving on.
That's
I
a
would
lot of
be
torque.
I would be amiss if I didn't talk about the Amateur Radio Emergency Preparedness Act reintroduced. Okay, I know
Yes.
we have tried this a few times, and the ARRL is on board and got bipartisan people to support this. So, my hosts, what do you think? We gonna make it this time?
I'm not holding my
every
breath.
year.
I really hope it does, but I'm not holding my breath. I deliberately live outside of an HOA because I don't
Same,
have,
brother.
I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
But
So-
I know people that have to deal with it, and it's terrible for them. I hope it gets through, but I'm not holding my breath.
I remember.
I'm on 10 acres. I can do whatever I want to do out here.
Yeah, I mean that's what we all aim for. I think every time it's been brought up in the past, it's generally on like a lame duck Congress, or it's right before a break or a change in the House. So this seems like they've got enough time. Somebody in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, that if they
Hopefully.
wanted to make a go at it, they could, and this would be the right time to do it.
I thought at first that it would be a great time to introduce it, and then at the second thought, I thought if it costs anybody any money at all, it's not going to be looked at because of the way the administration is going. But I'm hoping for the best. So, okay, we are all hoping for the best. Obviously, thank you for bringing this this bill back.
So
again.
Hamit.
This was
Absolutely.
really sad, you guys. This is a picture of rig experts building in Ukraine.
Oh, Lord.
Got hit
It was
by a missile.
demolished like yesterday, I think. This was today. Our administrator's office was destroyed by a Russian ballistic missile. So sad. I'm very glad nobody was injured, but yeah, that
Right.
sucks. And wishing for a speedy rebuild there, you guys and gals.
And hashtag we will rebuild. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was this? Oh my gosh, I have no idea who this is. I'm guessing a Japanese station, but I was really worried about this antenna.
It's got a little
looks-
kink in it.
It's a bit kinky. It reminded
it
me of an
bamboo?
antenna. Like it should have been made into a cartoon out of like Dr. Seuss. If they would have put some colors on it, it totally would have fit.
Could it be that it's bamboo and that's just the natural structure?
I don't know. There
I
was
don't
no
know.
context to this whatsoever, unfortunately.
Well, that's a mobile, it's a remote tuner at the base,
That's-
an Icom tuner.
I did
so
recognize
it's just a
that.
wire shot up there. So maybe it's
So-
bamboo.
Maybe it doesn't have to be pretty. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
That's my excuse.
If they're making contacts, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
That's it.
True statement, Carlos. I just had to make fun of it a little bit. I felt sad for it. It looked kinky. Okay. I ran into this from Instagram, and it brought me to a place, and it brought me to a place. I went through a wheel of emotions on what I should say about this. Hamregistry.org. Evidently, they will give you another address so that you can have your FCC license and get your information through this pay $9.99 a month website. And just, I was like, what? Why? So I don't know what to say about it. Why would you need this? Are you that like wanting to be incognito that why would you even be on the air at that point in time with your call sign?
Post office box is cheaper. Why?
I don't know that it is. Actually, PO boxes, at least in my area, have gone up significantly. I think
Have they?
Yeah, I think I'm
I
paying
was curious about that.
$150 to $200 or something like that a year. So
But
they
you can
are
get all of your
cheaper.
mail.
Exactly. Yeah. So did you already mention the some of the perks
No.
you get with the
No, I saw like they will forward up to 10 QSL cards a month to you. Wow, that's a great perk. Super.
For some people, that's not even a day.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah.
Forwarding of all official FCC correspondence because we get so much of it. Let me tell you. I mean, every other day I'm getting something from the FCC.
But
But
actually,
I didn't understand.
Now that I think about it, so just looking at these perks, what happens when, the inevitable ham says, oh, I got this random part that I heard you mention in a ham fest. Are you good on QRZ? And then they pull up your address and ship it to you. And then now you got this part
That's
just
true.
sitting there. Like, where does that
actually
go?
Right.
happens. That has
Yeah.
happened to me
It happens
numerous
to me.
times.
Yeah. Or people
Yeah.
will send me an antenna, like randomly an HT antenna.
I
Like,
mean,
do a review on it. And okay. And it shows up in my PO box. And like,
the way I
what
saw
would
this
happen there?
ad on
A PO box.
Instagram was like this. There was a female, and you couldn't see her face or anything. You could tell she was probably young and attractive, and like that's how they're like, don't let anyone show up at your house kind
Yeah.
of thing unannounced. Well, that has happened to me, but
Yes.
I have
And me.
two dogs in an arsenal that's bigger than Red Dawn's. So
Bert and Trevor's. That's a setup.
not really concerned about it, but I could get it that way. But again, if you have that much to be concerned about, I don't know. I don't know.
PO box in my area is $72 a year.
Okay, that makes sense. But in Cali, I could understand why it might be more. I don't know. Viewers, I leave it up to you on if you would pay $10 a month for this service, and I'll leave it at that. I'm over it. Okay.
Not me. That wouldn't be worth it to me.
And I think one of my emotions was like, well, shit, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Well, you can do it and just do it for say $8.99.
Yeah.
Undercut them by $1.
And add more QSL cards forwarded.
There you go.
This was really cool because we actually use a lot of these Ubiquiti M5 rockets around here. So I just wanted to show off this person's handiwork of 3D printing a case for it. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the M5 rocket radios that we use them for all of our microwave backbone stuff.
Oh, that's what it is. I thought this was going to be one of those radio jammers out of China. You were asking like, what is this thing? So that's an actual wireless data transmitter.
It's more like showing off the case of it though, because the Ubiquiti radios as a comm are really bright white, and they fade, and they do the thing when it's like fiberglass, you know what I'm saying? It like shreds, and then all of a sudden your like skin gets covered in fiberglass. So this is a really nice case for it. Oh,
nice.
So yeah. All right. Moving on. This was unique. I mean, it wasn't unique. People say this all the time. Are we relying on computers too much in our amateur radio hobby? That was the short end of the question. Try hunting POTA without a computer and you'll see what I mean. You're lucky if you hear the park number. Sometimes it just assumed you have the information from the spotter. Has the art of the QSO been lost with too much reliance on computers? What's to say, my hosts?
I know Tango Oscar Mike, but go ahead. I'll save my comments for the end. Go ahead. Who's first?
I don't think so. I mean, look, I'm going to use every tool available to me to do the things that I'm going to do. Sometimes that's going to be a computer. Sometimes it's going to be just spinning the dial. Yeah. We can all still do that. I activate POTA, and after every contact, I give my call, the park number, and I say QRZ. And I know a lot of other people do too. So I think that we can still make the contacts. And you know what? One of the things that's in the DXCC code of conduct, right, is listen, and listen some more. Yeah. If you didn't hear the park number the first time around, maybe if you wait and listen for 3 or 4 minutes, I know. We have 30-second attention spans. Listen, just listen. You'll get the park number, you'll get the call. Trust me.
That's what I do.
I have a QSO right here written on a piece of paper because I didn't have my computer pulled up. It didn't mean I wasn't going to log the dude. In 0QR, I think it was 5959 and the time. So I just wrote it down on my piece of paper. Don't need the computer. Highly recommend having the computer because I currently I couldn't tell you if it was me or Jeff that made this contact, to be honest, and what day it was. But
I mean, it certainly makes POTA hunting a lot easier to have the the website up and the spotting and everything. But it's just another tool.
And I don't know if N3WS was meaning that if we're relying on it just too much for POTAs or if all in general.
But that was the
explanation was with that. So
that was the example that he gave. So
there's a comment here. Eric nailed it. You don't need to log the contact on the hunting end. The activator's the one that does it, and that's how you get the points, right? So, the comment from Amanda, particularly the end, has the art of the QSO been lost? I don't know why there's so many people that make these little like drive-by comments like that, like, oh, did we lose something? It's like, no, we have that, the art of the QSO, and then all this other new cool stuff. And isn't it so cool that we have all these different things available? Most of the time, we're whipping through those contacts, but I've been an activator and a chaser, and I've just sat there and chatted for a little while with the person, and if that's a cool contact and you want to do that, that's fine. It's up to the operator to decide. It happens.
Carlos,
all the time.
For real, is not logging his stuff, right? So
pen and paper, 590M.
So I think he relies on some technology there to make that work.
Recording it.
Yeah, you have to record it. Stat operators do it all the time. It's just the way it is. It's not lost the art; it is enhanced it. It has evolved it.
That's a good way to say it.
Okay. All right, moving on. What do I have?
Okay.
Oh my gosh, this was so funny because it's real.
What the?
That's a barbed wire phone.
Yes, a barbed wire phone on a barbed wire network that ranchers used to use all the time. I knew nothing about this until I ran into this random post. It's not even ham radio related, but it's close
awesome.
enough that it's like, oh, this is so cool.
I love it.
That is
This
very
does
cool.
this does not look like it's in the setting of Montana, by the way, but I think it's a recreation, obviously, of what was possible or what they used to do, because I'm pretty sure they didn't have a plastic phone like this hanging out in Montana in 1902. So,
Well, you see, Amanda, that's the switchboard for the ranch. That's where we do the passing the
are
comms.
you calling the house or are you
Yeah,
calling the barn?
That's
And
it.
yeah.
That's the barn
That's cool.
phone.
Well, did anyone have party lines, phones, party lines?
Nope.
My girlfriend did, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I had one. We lived in the boondocks of Washington State, near the Canadian border, but we had one. So you had a certain ring that you knew it was you. Otherwise, it would do the little bling as it was ringing to the next person down the road, 40 acres away. So slightly used to this. You could have picked up the phone and listened to their conversations. It was weird, crazy. That's what's called a Barbie line. Okay, let's moving on. I just found that really interesting. And also, I met a ham that had this huge acreage, and he put 500-foot barbed wire antenna. That's what he used for 160 meters. So,
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
it is
I
totally
made a contact
awesome.
with a guy doing that, and he sounded great.
Yeah, he did. This guy did too, and I was just blown away.
Yeah.
I felt bad about any cattle that he had hanging out at the fence, because I'm sure he was putting 1,500 watts to that sucker. But okay,
At least.
not my problem, not my rodeo. Okay. AI of the week. I wanted to involve you,
Oh,
so I
Lord.
said,
What in the world?
Literally the
Cre-
antennas from Stranger Things in the background.
That's funny.
create me an image with youth using ham radio in a park. This is what I got.
And the
Cool, yeah.
RF exposure experimentation day at the ARRL is going
That's
swimmingly.
That's right.
Wow.
The sun wasn't out, but we all got tans.
Well, and they all have their own radios, though. Not that they're
Yeah.
connected to anything. I love, like, every single time AI has to draw this microphone going to and the cord going to nowhere. Why? I just
Oh, I know what they're doing. They're activating a POTA with just everybody there.
yeah. Totally.
Okay.
10 people with radios. They're all just activating POTA with each other.
And they have their tunes.
They're, the front end of every one of those radios blown out.
Exactly.
Speaking of POTAs, I'm going to put a plug out to one of my friends who on February 17th is going to be part of the Dry Tortuga party, POTA
neat.
party.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to have him and a couple of the people on once they get back from that. So probably March 12th, but we'll get an exclusive of how it went and all the things that went right and all the things that went wrong. So I know they're going to be in all bands, all modes as much as they can. And they're like camping out there and really roughing it.
That'll be
So
cool.
yeah, I hope they
love
have
that.
fun.
Oh, wait, they're camping at the Dry Tortugas? Oh, that's right.
They
You can
are.
camp there. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the best ways to activate it, I heard. Because if you do the day trip, there's very limited time to make the contacts.
That's correct. And I don't know all the ins and outs of what the regulations are, I should say, but it sounds like yes, you have to haul everything in and all arrangements made and pre-approved long ahead of time. But evidently Molly has arranged it all, and she's an excellent team leader. So I'm looking forward to meeting her and having her on the show.
Very
So-
I love it. That's going to be
Yes.
fun.
Exciting. Okay, that brings us to the end of everything. We're done. Let me just go over some nuts. We have D-Star 14 Charlie, but Paul was saying that he was having some weather issues. So if that's not possible, we apologize. And Kev should be around 7192, waiting for all of us to get on there. So with that, thank you, Carlos, for being here. We
Yes, thank you,
appreciate
Carlos.
you.
And Jason.
Yes, and
Thank you both.
Jason, who he just left early. I'm so mad.
yeah, he had to hop
not
off.
really. Anyhow, I hope you both join us again sometime soon. And Carlos, I just have to say, your enthusiasm for amateur radio is infectious. So we
Yes,
appreciate
absolutely.
it.
I hope so. You know, if I can, I just want to infect the people that don't have licenses so we get more people to talk to.
Yeah.
Oh, me
There
too.
you go.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If he's
We need
still
more in the
watching,
hobby.
if he's still watching, thank you, Jason Lockwood, for the $50 super chat. Thank you very much. That was
really nice,
and
Jason.
unexpected.
Thank you.
And
Nice.
Bill joined the membership team, so thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
All right, that's it. Join us again February 26th.
Don't forget your significant others Friday. Don't just
That's
be
right.
playing radio.
That's right. Valentine's Day Friday. And on our next show in 2 weeks, it will be the Wednesday before Mardi Gras. So I'll be excited about that.
Oh,
right. Party
then Fat
downtime.
Tuesday. All right.
That's right.
All right. Until we talk to you again, everybody, have a great time playing your radio. And 7-3.
7-3.
3.
We'll be Parachute Mobile next time we're live. All of us jumping out of the airplane.
Speak for yourself,
Stay
Bucky.
tuned
I
for that.
have been in a Cessna 182 before, and I got like really scared